All right, we are out at the garden today, and I thought I would finally get to doing a full garden tour. If you don't know, I mostly specialize in cold hardy perennials to keep everything low maintenance, and cold hardy really being anything that can live in my climate, which is zone 8B. So I thought we'd go through and I'd just show you what I'm growing. So first things first, I am experimenting with some cold hardy citrus this year. Shout out to the Mulberries nursery. They have sent me some things in this garden. Also, of course, Madison Citrus Nursery has a whole bunch, and Steve McKenzie is a great resource as well. I have these botanical signs for most of my plants, not all of them, but that'll give you some quick information. This is what I'm going for a lemon alternative. I have it in the shade cloth because it was getting sun scald. You can kind of see there. And it is thorny because it is a mix with a trifolia orange. And you could, man, I don't even know what it's, oh right, yuzu, clementine, and I thought there's trifolia in there. Maybe there isn't, but some of those citrus, mostly the trifolia orange, tend to be really thorny, and you can see these are poking out. But overall, I'm going to try to make a lemon substitute using this guy. This one is really fun. This is my Toon tree, also known as Chinese mahogany or tuna. It is also known as the beef and onion tree. And this is really, really exciting because all of these leaves are edible. The kind of middle veins and the stems are pretty bitter when they get mature. Red glossy ones like this, you could really just pick off all together and eat like a vegetable. But there are many plants that have fun names like this, and they really don't live up to the hype. But I will say beef and onion plant really does. It is very fun to have my vegetarian and vegan friends try it, and they swear they just feel like they took a bite of a steak. So it's really fun. I would say its best use is in soups and stews, especially in ramen, because it is that nice sort of Chinese mountain vegetable. And it makes essentially a vegetarian beef broth with just one ingredient. And I love this thing. People say you can only pick these in spring, but they keep growing year round. I don't really know why they say that. And they say you can't eat the mature leaves, but in my experience you can. Just these veins here will get bitter, so you just have to take some time to peel them. Right over here is a Feijoa, or Feijoa, also known as a pineapple guava. And I don't have a sign for this one, but you can see it is flowering right now. And there are these little petals here that are all dried up. I haven't been eating too many because they are edible, but I do get a bunch of earwigs in the garden that like to hide in these, so I've been feeling less motivated to pick them. This variety is shouldn't be self-fertile from what I know, and the flowers are staying on even though the petals fall off, so it's kind of acting like a pollinated fruit. I'm not going to hold my breath. I doubt I'm getting anything from this. I've heard other people in my climate do struggle to get its fruit for whatever reason, but I really love how it looks. This is an evergreen shrub, and this was honestly half the size a year ago, maybe even a third of the size, and this thing just blows up. It is beautiful, edible flower petals. I have some shorts on that, and you can see, oh, there's one right here with nothing in it. I'm gonna eat that right now. Tastes kind of like cotton candy to me. They're sweet. It's meant so birds can help pollinate it, but I really love these. I'm hoping I'll enjoy the fruit, and I'm really hoping I can get it to grow in my climate because this thing grows like a weed. It's beautiful, multiple uses. I'm a big fan. So this here is a fig tree, nothing too special. It's just a black mission fig. I've been trying to graft pretty unsuccessfully. I feel like this is dead. A lot of my little grass had come out, so maybe I just need to practice more. Yeah, I have another here, but it's still not looking too hot. And I don't have any fruit on it yet, but this thing has blown up this year, and I'm pretty sure it has started growing in the ground from this container. I tried moving it, and I heard a real loud thunk sound, so I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. I have heard the leaves are edible, and you can make little syrups with them by cooking them in water. I have not tried that myself. I do know the fruit does have a sort of latex sap when you pick them, so yeah, be kind of careful with this one. I don't know too much about it. But I'm thinking I'm just going to let this guy grow in the ground because these are so beautiful. And I've heard you do get 2 harvests a year depending on your climate. And figs just have so many great uses. They are delicious dried, high in calories, a great crop. You can juice them. I'm a big fan. So this guy here, don't know the variety honestly, but this is a nectarine tree. You can see it's got a fruit here that's looking pretty good. Yeah, still hard, so it's going to take a while till it's ready. And compared to my other stone fruit, you can see back there is a peach tree I got from Wilco. Over here in that corner is another nectarine tree, and they have been just ravaged by the leaf peach curl in my climate. I don't spray them at all. People do a copper spray, and that does work well, But again, I'm all about low maintenance pest control, not micromanaging any of my plants, and trying to find varieties and fruits that will grow with minimal effort. So this one is just a trooper. It does get some of the leaf peach curl, but that just falls off early in the season, and then it just grows right back and explodes. So I'm a little suspicious, wondering if this has planted itself in the ground as well, but I'm having great success with this. Really looking forward to trying to get some more nectarines. I have gotten some on this, and I have gotten some on that one. Nectarines or peaches, I'm not quite sure, honestly. That one's looking really bad. And they tasted like sweet mangoes. They were so good, fresh. It's nothing like the store, so excited for that. This here is a Flavor King Pluot. I actually haven't been able to try one, but I've been really interested in stone fruit varieties because here you can see that there are lots of cherry trees in the Pacific Northwest, and we really don't have any problem with leaf peach curl on them. It seems to be just the nicer fruit like the peaches. So I'm hoping that crosses like this can give you larger, sweeter, juicier fruit, and you really won't have to worry about the leaf peach curl, even though it seems like there might be a little bit here, but I did get this later in the season, so it's hard to say. I don't have a second one to cross-pollinate this, and I don't think Pluots are self-fertile, but I have been able to get some Plots or Plumcots or something like that from Trader Joe's, and I got one that was ripe enough where I got kind of that sweetness coming through and that spicy flavor they kind of talk about, almost like a mulled wine and a fruit. So I thought that was really awesome. I'm just going to let this guy grow, so maybe one day I can get a pollinator for it and start getting fruit. I heard the bugs and the squirrels love this, the birds love it. So you do need to kind of use netting, but at least where I am, I haven't needed any for my nectarines. I think they're a bit too hard for the critters to find. Although that is not the same for my cherry tree, which I'll get to in a minute, because that is fruiting. It does great. It's a Stella cherry, but I woke up one day and they were all gone. Over here are some red kiwis I'm growing. Oh, here. All right, sorry about that. The neighbor just stopped by and gave me some tree collars for my chickens, so I had to pause the video. Then my girlfriend came home and I had to say hi. So we're back at the tour, and we were just talking about these Ken's Red Kiwiberries. And these are just like normal kiwi berries, super prolific vines. This one is not self-fertile. And I had some red kiwis at the store, and they did have sort of a raspberry jam flavor once you get to the center of it, when they're nice and sweet. The great thing about kiwi berries, as you could see on the sign, they are super hardy, and they do get really, really sweet. So actually I'm going to try to make my fence a bit taller here to give them more space. And they've actually been growing pretty slow. I've had them for 2 years. I just put them in the ground this year, and they just, as you can see, get sun scald. And kiwi berries really do seem to like partial shade and cooler weather. And we've had a pretty mild June, so they're getting a bit more established. But I'm trying to give them some shade by lazily propping up this cardboard here, and that works well enough. But hopefully they don't die and they can get nice and big. So over here again, we have a peach, I'm pretty sure. This tag is actually from the grafts that I've unsuccessfully tried grafting on, some flavor peaches. But this one will actually be alive. But some of them are dried up, they don't look too good. And this is all that came back from all of this stuff that died during early in the season due to the leaf peach curl. So it really ravaged it this season if you don't spray it. And again, the copper spray isn't dangerous or anything, but again, low maintenance gardening is what I'm all about. I do have a full-time job, and I want to keep this all sustainable. And it's fun to enjoy the garden and not feel like it's a chore. I have some ivy growing here. I pruned it today because I don't want it to get in the ground. This stuff is pretty invasive, will spread everywhere, so keeping it only in containers. But I do bother growing it here because it is a nice living ground cover, and they actually do have soapsins in them, the same things that are in soap nuts. So you can just put these in a bag and use them like a laundry detergent. And what I've done is I make a tea out of it, and it is poisonous, so do not drink it. But if you do that, you put it in a jar, you shake it up, you see it'll get nice and soapy. So just a fun little extra way to be more sustainable. I don't really do that too often because my girlfriend keeps buying normal laundry detergent, so I'm less motivated to make my own. But I have done it before, and it does work all right for things that are not super nasty and just need a quick wash, like some sweaty clothes. Here, apple tree. This is doing great in my climate. It is a Fuji apple, and I absolutely love them. For whatever reason, it's not fruiting this year. I didn't even see it put out any flowers, so I actually got a pretty big harvest off this small tree last year, and I think maybe it's just taking a break. But I love these. They have really beautiful white flowers that come out, and some are also pink if you have a pink apple variety. which I am trying to graft on here. These look like they might be alive, so we'll see. It's my first time grafting, so I'm not too good at it, but practice makes perfect, as they say. And I might prune this thing so it can get some thicker branches, but I really love it. It's super hardy, zero maintenance. You can make applesauce, apple cider, you can make vinegar, and there's just so many uses for this wonderful fruit. I'm actually not a huge fan of raw apples, but I still would grow much more of this if I could. Here's my kind of sad looking cherry. It's been doing all right, but for some reason it just died 1 year at this spot, but the rest of it is growing well. I do get some nice cherries off of it, some sweet dark red ones, which are Stella cherries. But one day I went out and they were all gone. So I'm pretty sure a squirrel picked them when they're underripe, which is not very usual over here. I do have squirrels, but they have a hard time finding all my fruit. So maybe I'm just growing too much, but I'm hoping these kiwi berries, which will spread all over the fence, might be a good distraction. I have these dahlias over here. I don't do anything to them. They are going to flower pretty soon, which is neat, and the neighbor's been mowing them on accident, so I think they finally learned not to do that. They're my girlfriend's favorite. I have heard some dahlia bulbs are actually edible. I don't really have too much to say about that. Another nectarine tree, again, ravaged by that leaf peach curl. You can see that from the rootstock, which is probably some sort of cherry tree. It's growing all right. I don't know if it actually fruits. I'm probably going to prune this back so it keeps growing more nectarines. It does have a fruit that it looks kind of worse for wear. And yeah, this tree and that one over there actually looked really similar at one point. So it just goes to show that when you have something that's more suited for your climate, it will just do so much better. Over here, I just have a big rose bush, about 5 years old at this point. I like to cut these flowers right when they open up, or before they open, sorry, because we do get earwigs in there. You can maybe see one in there now. And I just like to dry them, make bouquets. I might show that off later during this tour. All right, over here, not much in the front yard, just another cherry tree. I have a big lavender bush that I just pruned to make some dried bouquets, but I keep some on the bees. I kind of will do half of the bush at one point, half later, just so the bees always have something to use. This is a huge bean trellis I had made for my Scarlett runner beans, which are awesome. They do drop all their flowers when it gets hot, but we'd have a really mild June. So far they're doing really good. I get a nice harvest from them. Some people don't like the flavor. I think they're just fine. People are a little too picky. And what I'm happy about is this just adds that extra shade to my south-facing front yard. So all my crops kind of get more shade. These are perennial beans. It's hard to tell if they've actually perennialized themselves. I'll show off the sign just so you can get more info. But because so many slugs and snails love to eat these things when they come up early in the season when it is cool and wet, which is pretty frustrating, but I've been lucky enough to get chickens this year, and you can see for my younger plants, been putting down eggshells. And that is, again, probably the only pest control I do in this whole garden because I want this to be low maintenance and sustainable. So I just save my eggshells once I'm done, crack them all around this, and they're actually doing pretty good at deterring the snails. And I have actually gotten hummingbirds on this plant too, which I've never seen them in my garden before, so that is really exciting. This thing later in the season gets full and lush, and sadly the snails like to eat those ones more. So you can see the difference where the ones that can't get established can really struggle. But I do have them coming up, putting out more eggshells every day. Sadly, it's not foolproof. You see I have shells around here, and this plant is just totally destroyed. So hopefully it can get a better foothold. Right here, I have wood sorrel. This stuff is awesome. There are many different varieties. This you can see has these nice attractive flowers, this will spread, and these leaves are edible, and they do taste kind of like lemon because they have oxalic acid. It's the same stuff that's in rhubarb that makes it nice and zesty. So it's native in my climate. I don't know about this variety, but it's just a great edible native ground cover. I shred some cardboard, you can see, for mulch, and I have bunny litter from our pet bunnies, and that works pretty well. But having a living mulch really does add more biodiversity, more shade, insulates your soil, and of course if it's edible, it's just one more way you can get the most out of your space, because despite how my yard looks, I actually don't have a huge yard. I really had to get the most out of it, and that's kind of why I have this little horseshoe shape here, so just enough room to get a wheelbarrow through, growing everywhere else. This is something I really am excited about. This is Yaupon, or Yaupon, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. It's basically a native North American version of yerba mate. Caffeinated leaves, grows in this nice shrub shape. It does make poisonous red berries. I don't think they are crazy poisonous, but They are poisonous enough that you will vomit. I think that's where the name comes from. However, there is a little bit of a debate in the sort of entomology of this plant and where the actual name comes from, what the vomitoria means. Some people think it's because of Native American rituals where they would drink so much that they would vomit, but I'm not sure how true that actually is. And I really like this thing because it is tough. It is drought tolerant. It is frost hardy, so far at least. I'm in zone 8 and apparently it can live down to zone 7. I've never seen this thing complain once, even though it is super fragile and weak before it gets established. But after its first year, this guy will do just great. You can see the earwigs are even trying to live in these leaves here, which is kind of frustrating, but they don't hurt anything in the garden. They just are all over the place. I have a tiny creeping raspberry plant here, which is similar. It is super hardy, living ground cover like the wood sorrel, makes you some nice fruit, but I have one leaf in there because it just got fried. I put so many plants out here in the spring, nice and early, hoping they would do well, and it just is not taking. So similar to those kiwi berries, I'm trying to shade them. And you can see here, I planted this a while back. These are actually turmeric plants. They can come back and perennialize, unlike my ginger, which I've been unsuccessful with, which is a bummer because I love ginger. And these guys seem to take forever to come up, and I don't even know how big the roots are. I'm skeptical. They're really a decent edible size, but apparently, yeah, it just is a bit more hardy, the turmeric, than ginger, so can perennialize in this climate to some degree. If it's functional, though, I can't say. Here is another creeping raspberry plant, but I have it under this rhubarb leaf to give it shade and help it get established instead of cardboard, so it breaks down by itself. This guy here is pretty exciting. I have a sign else in the garden. I'll show you that. But this is a spiceberry bush, and these leaves, to me, they smell kind of like a spiced citrus. Yeah, it's like a lemon pledge cleaner sort of smell, but a little less chemically and more pleasant. And people make a tea out of this. It is known in the colonial era in North America for being used to have several different spices where you get these nice citrusy, lemony leaves. And the bark is supposedly kind of cinnamon-like, but I haven't really had enough to try here. See, most of this growth is all really young. This thing is now taking off because it's just getting established. And then outside of the bark, you do get little red berries. And I've heard they have a resin flavor, kind of like bell pepper skin, how it just has that sort of nasty flavor, similar to red currants as well, or I think maybe black currants. They have that resin flavor. But when you dry them out, especially if there's a seed inside, and you can grind that up, and it's a lot like black pepper supposedly. So I have not been fortunate enough to get fruit. You need male and female plants, and I think I just have 3 of the same sex. My other 2 plants I moved to the backyard. I'll show you those later. So I got more this year. I'm really hoping that I'm going to get some fruit next year because these are getting big and mature, and I'm excited to try it out and report back for you guys. Right here, again, another wood sorrel variety. Looks like clover. You can see it's small and less impressive than those big purple ones, but that is just probably a more native version. I found that as a weed growing in my yard, actually. And right here, I think these are, yes, these are Egyptian walking onions. You can see they're normal onions, but at the top, they make these little onion bulblets, which are edible, and they will fall down and plant themselves and then grow up again, fall down, grow up again, fall down. And it's like taking steps. So they are called walking onions for that reason. They are a perennial onion, but I will say the bulb is really small. And the bulblets, while edible, these are just such a huge pain to peel. I see people recommend these all the time. They work great as a green onion. But man, in practice, if you want an actual onion to be a significant part of a dish, this is just such a pain in the ass. So I don't know why everyone recommends them. I am experimenting with potato onions, which I'll get to later. But it takes about 2 years to get even a shallot-sized bulb from this. So while these are cool, they are true perennials, and they do a decent job of spreading, I am just not as hyped for them, and I am trying to slowly replace them with potato onions. And you see, just got some tomato plants, really the only annuals I have in this garden. I have strawberries here, which originally were in these raised beds, but they just got dried out, even in my shady areas, because their roots are just so shallow. And luckily, I picked a big strawberry yesterday. See, there's more growing here. This thing is doing great in the ground, and I think I'm just going to let it keep growing as a ground cover because my girlfriend loves strawberries. But yeah, it's just not doing well in these raised beds. You can see there's one from last year that somehow survived, but we've had a really mild June, and I do think it's going to heat up, and these guys are just going to disappear and get fried. And here is a tiny Yaupon plant I propagated. I'm trying to grow more because I want this to be a whole Yaupon sort of lane where I can be self-sufficient in caffeine. And again, it makes a nice pretty hedge. It is evergreen, it grows in the winter. Very similar to the Feijoas, and I have another Feijoa here. Here, I'll let you get a quick look at that sign. All right, and this one I don't have a sign for because it's brand new, but this is a Loquat. And this is essentially a Chinese sort of version of a peach or apricot. And it grows in these big bundles. This is evergreen. It's really beautiful. It looks tropical. And I haven't bothered growing them because in my climate, these things fruit really early in the season, and the frost would probably just kill all of the fruit and all the blooms, so they can't really take, which can happen with our stone fruit like peaches. But I think this is a Uboso or some name like that, Loquat from One Green World Nursery. And it's a variety, supposedly, that will bloom in a good time for this climate, so you can get fruit. I just got it in this year. I'm really excited for it, even just as an ornamental. This tree should get nice and big and give some shade to the rest of my garden. But I'm going to report back because I think that could be a sort of peach apricot alternative for this climate where you don't need to worry about leaf peach curl. And it's just nice for more variety. I would really like to try to supply some local Asian restaurants or even just communities with all this rare stuff that really kind of only find in China sometimes, like the beef and onion plant. Okay, right here is my cold hardy pepper. It is capsicum flexuosum. Sorry, it's hard to pronounce. But I just got some in the ground and I'm using all my eggshells to cover these guys up because I know slugs do like to eat pepper plants. And this one is finally getting somewhat established. And these are slow growers. They are ridiculously hard to germinate. It's taken me a couple years, but I have learned that if you soak them in hydrogen peroxide, that will help get that thick shell or those thick seeds, so they will germinate successfully. I have 2 plants here. I don't think they're self-fertile, so I'm glad I have 2. And I have one right here and another tiny baby one here I'm covering up with this bark. And I'm gonna report back on these eventually. They're probably not very practical because the fruits you get are small. They are essentially the size and shape of a blueberry. They do have some heat to them, which is pretty nice. But I'm not going to expect these to do more than maybe give me a bottle of hot sauce a year. So we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong and they'll get crazy big and I'll have more than I can use, but I'm not going to hold my breath. All right, more lavender over here. I have a ton of garlic in this bed. And I have a random asparagus plant here that is lovely. Just gonna show off the sign, elephant garlic from the grocery store. There's plenty of videos about garlic. I'm not gonna go on about it too much, but I have more than I really need. It's dying back right now, early summer. But I like to eat the greens on this because they do have a nice spice to them. And to me, they taste like garlicky jalapenos, really, when you eat the greens. And again, I have these peppers. I'm looking for alternatives to peppers in this climate because they don't really perennialize, and I've just now gotten lucky with the flexuosum peppers. So I'm hoping that I can find more uses for this garlic. When you do eat all the leaves, it can make the bulb smaller. But I also do love these big purple flowers that come from it, and I do make bouquets out of them. They might be my favorite flower in the garden. They don't really shed. They're really beautiful. Pollinators love it. But you do get a really tiny garlic when you let them go to flower like that. So it's not the most practical if you're trying to get food. Right here, again, I made a crop top and I just covering up this plant that was also getting sun scald. But this is a Thomasville Citrangequat. And this is really exciting. It's basically an egg-shaped citrus. And it has edible skin like a kumquat. And it's a lot like a lime when it's young, and it ripens into an orange. So I haven't really tried it yet. I don't know how ripe it is, if it's like a navel orange or like a nice sweet clementine. I'll have to find out. But I'm looking forward to this. It had some fruits on it that it seems like it dropped, sadly, after I planted it. But now it's getting some getting protected from the sun, getting established. I'm really hoping I can get some citrus here. And this will be kind of my lime sort of substitute. So you saw the lemon one back there, the 10-degree tangerine. This is going to be my lime. And then I will also thank you again to the Mulberries Nursery. Sorry, I'm running into my flowers. Right, that little dead stick there that got eaten up by slugs right here. That's my Prague Chimera. And I have a second one right here. And sadly they showed up and all their branches are broken off as well. And then the all the little parts that keep growing back, the slugs are getting to because this June is so mild. So it's a bit of a bummer, but these are proper sweet oranges. They are a chimera, so they have nice sort of, what's it, clementine oranges, I'm pretty sure. Let me see what it says on there. Satsuma oranges, yeah. So it will actually grow those, but it is otherwise a trifoliate orange, more or less. So it is 2 living plants within 1 actual plant, therefore the name chimera, which is super exciting. I'll show off the sign just to give you some of the info nice and close so you can read it. I have 4 total, 2 that are sad, 2 that are happy that the Mulberries Nursery sent. So I will go show you guys those in a minute. Over here, I have German chamomile. It's a nice medicinal ground cover. I'm picking all the flowers for chamomile tea, even though you can use the leaves, but my girlfriend, she really likes pretty flowers, so I'm being nice and collecting all these for her because she won't do it herself. And this is, again, another living edible ground cover. Really enjoying this. Pollinators love it. It's pretty. And it's, of course, it's chamomile, so it's like a sort of anti-inflammatory, a lot like ibuprofen you can make tea out of. And I'm sure if you drink enough, it's like taking several of those. So that is really nice. Here, I have a creeping raspberry plant. I showed you a tiny one in the front yard, but this one is actually established and really beautiful. It's also called emerald carpet. It is flowering right now, which is really neat. And it does have some thorns on the bottom. It's pretty hairy and not the best to walk on, but in a raised bed, it's just fine. And I'm excited for these guys to grow up over and spill over these beds, and that will give me several more feet of growing space that I would not otherwise have. So really looking forward to that. This guy is going to be growing slowly over time, and I'm going to keep propagating it. But as you saw in the front yard, it is really hard for these guys to get established unless you give them proper shade. And very similar to my other kiwi berries, which are getting shaded. They're just like the Ken's red kiwis, but this variety is supposedly self-fertile, and they are green and not red, but very, very sweet. Probably taste similar to the golden kiwis you can get at the store. I'm really looking forward to these. And I have some potato onions right here, which are flowering, and they are a lot like shallots. I can't really even get to the base of them right now, but I don't think they're quite ready to pick. My sea kale plant here has just gotten huge and is stopping me from getting in there. Yeah, you can kind of see the base of them. They're not really ready, but they should get thicker and bigger like shallots. Here's a sign with some info if you want to pause and read that. And now this guy is my sea kale plant, and his sign is right here. So I have 2 of them, and I love this. It has been hard to get my hands on a living plant because similar to the peppers, this is really hard to germinate, and I had a lot of difficulty doing that. But One Green World had some in stock, and I was able to get some, and I love this thing. It is a true perennial brassica. It has these nice cabbage-like leaves. They taste like broccoli. They're great. And then it will flower, and this whole thing will be a huge, big bush of white flowers. It happens early in the season. It's one of the first to bloom where I am, and all the pollinators love it. It's a great way to get them started in the season. And then if you let those flowers go to seed, it makes these little pea-like seeds. And this one doesn't really have any because I spent an hour picking them all, and I put it in a shepherd's pie, and it is edible. It is good. It has a really nice crispy crunch to it compared to normal peas. But man, it is just not worth it. There's no easy way to pick all of these that I have found. And then at this part of the season, these are way too woody and tough. They're basically full-on seeds. Not really worth messing with, but I'll give these away to other gardeners who want to grow it. But you get broccoli, you get cabbage, you get peas, all from one plant. And it's a true brassica. It does not die at the end of the year. Or sorry, a true perennial brassica. So I'm loving this thing. This is probably my favorite perennial vegetable at the moment. And it even has a tuber where it grows back from that is supposedly edible as well. And I'd imagine it also tastes like broccoli, but I don't want to dig up the plant and find out by killing it. So I'm just going to leave that be, but get your hands on sea kale if you can. All right, this is tree collard right here. There's a sign. My neighbor just brought me some of hers because you can see mine is looking a bit picked clean because my bunnies absolutely adore this. It's kind of high in calcium and protein, so not the best for a bunny, so I don't feed them too much. But protein and calcium are just what chickens need, so they absolutely love this stuff. And They have a hard time ripping it up sometimes, so I'll tear it up for them. I think they'd really like to tear it off the plant themselves, but yeah, I really like this thing. Another perennial brassica, I believe it's from Africa. Doesn't really make many flowers or any other vegetables, but it's pretty great. Super, super easy to propagate. I think you just get a few of these nodes, you put them in some dirt, you give it water, and boom, you have a new plant. All right, and then over here, we have a bunch of herbs. I'll go through pretty quick. This is a curry plant. I don't know much about it. I saw it at the store. It seems decently cold hardy. It's flowering. You pick it, it smells kind of like curry. There's thyme, and right here is lovage. Basically, super, super strong perennial celery. I make a big pot of soup. I will use 1 chopped up leaf. If I use 3 or 4, the whole thing is going to taste like lovage, and it is very strong. But 1 leaf in a little bowl of ramen makes it have that nice celery Chinese food flavor. And I get some of my beef and onion plant, and that is really nice. This, I believe, is French tarragon. We do have wild fennel here that essentially smells the same and tastes the same, but this just seems a bit more reliable. It's just not growing back from that bulb that dies back. It's still pretty small, so I'm letting it get bigger. But yeah, my French tarragon. Then this is my winter savory, and I just have it sharing a sign right here with my oregano. Right there is oregano. You can see it's flowering and not very useful when it's flowering like this. There's not much leaf to deal with. And I find while my winter savory does the same thing, it still remains much leafier, so it's more useful. They taste and smell exactly the same. Very similar growth habit, except this seems to spread out more, while the oregano seems to grow up more. And I really like this stuff. Oh, let's say hi to the chickens. It's not a chicken tour, but I just got these 2 naked neck chickens, little bantams. They are so cute. Little Yaupon on the right and, oh great, and Anna on the left. Yaupon is growing a bit of an afro. And they also have a black and blue skin because they are part silky. So I love these guys. They're so cute. This is my whole chicken run. I have a video. It's a whole chicken tour, so I won't go through it too much. Say hi to my other girls. Hello. I have 3 other bantam chickens. This is as big as they get. They are broody right now, sitting on eggs that will never hatch, and they will get over it eventually, but they love to get broody. I swear they are broody more often than not, so that's why I got more birds, because I want to actually get some eggs. You can see she's on a fake wooden egg right there. And I just have the fake ones so they know where to nest, which doesn't always work, clearly. But if they ever get the urge to peck at their eggs and try to eat it, they'll think that they can't break through the shell if they have fake eggs. I'm busy. All right. Yeah, the rest of the chicken run. Chicken nipples for water, some roost up here, water barrel connected to a gutter. Super low maintenance, as you can see. I can leave my chickens for 2 weeks at a time. Honestly, probably even longer if their little feeders don't get clogged up. All right, so here is another one of my Prague Chimeras. And again, thank you, the Mulberries Nursery for making these more widely available. This is a proper cold hardy citrus down to zone 6 or 7, I believe. And they grow really slow. They are scraggly. They are not huge producers. I've heard them compared to a Charlie Brown Christmas tree because they are ugly, they are thorny, they are anemic looking, and they are a tortured soul of 2 plants in one, but they will get you oranges in a climate where no one would believe you. This is my Staghorn Sumac. Actually, I thought this was dead, but it just came back way later in the season. Nice and fuzzy tree. It is really pretty. It turns all shades of red and yellow in the winter, and it gets nice and fuzzy like staghorns, even though this part has died off. It needs a male and a female to make fruit, and when it does, it makes big clusters of purple berries. And what you can do is you can run them over a sieve and get all the little fuzz off the berries, and they are a nice spice that's popular in the Middle East, although this is a Native American plant. And it's a great meat rub, nice and citrusy, another source of acid if you can't grow citrus, and I've been trying to grow citrus. And rhubarb is a nice alternative, same with that wood sorrel I showed off. These huge ferns, you might recognize them, they're asparagus. Not too much to say about these guys. They'll pop up, and I could just keep on harvesting them in the early spring, which is lovely because nothing else is growing then, and I love asparagus. It's delicious. You can dehydrate it. Canning, I don't really recommend. It gets really mushy when you do that. It's not very pleasant. Here's some sage, nice herb. The snails love to live in this thing, but that's what a garden's all about. I'm making an ecosystem, not just a grocery store. These smell great. They're nice and mentholy. You can burn sage. I actually want to try to get enough to see if I can make my own sort of bath, bubble bath stuff out of this, because it just smells so good. And just add some biodiversity in the mint family. And I don't know where it went. I just saw a little ladybug in this, but oh, there it is, a little ladybug. Anyways, they seem to really like my asparagus ferns, so I think that might be doing something for the ecosystem here. And they are a nice way to get partial shade on plants like my potatoes, which are not doing too hot. But as the sun sets, these guys give them some extra shade, and I think they're just not loving all the sun. They were doing really well early in the season. They spring back to life and keep on growing after my first frost and do really well. But man, in the summer, they just die back, and I think they're not going to make it sometimes. So here's some info about my potatoes. Pretty straightforward. Lots of information online about them. I'm not going to gap about it too much, but I'm really enjoying these for my carb source. I'm growing sunchokes over there, which I'll get to as an alternative, but potatoes, man, they're just better. And I'm looking forward to dehydrating these and making powder out of them, because that is what instant mashed potato is from the grocery store. And it'll just be an easy way to cook it faster, not worry about them going bad and storing them in just the right conditions. I do not have a root cellar or anything. I'm not in a proper homestead. I'm in a big duplex ghetto, but doing my best. I have all different varieties here, so I'm kind of gonna try to take a look and see if the ones like this that are drying out real bad are that much different than this variety. Maybe I can get a good idea of what's better for my climate. Neighbors' dogs. Yep, we hear you. What else? I have a big hazelnut tree that came with the house. Oregon, where I am, is known for hazelnuts. Information on the sign. I've tried harvesting a whole bunch and making hazelnut butter out of it. And here's the immature sort of hazelnuts. And while that works, I just get so many filbert worms in them. When you crack open some of these, there'll be a little hole in it. And that means a caterpillar was laid on the the nut. And then it will burrow its way in, eat the nut. And when I was processing these, it took forever to get these little paper shells off. I have a hand crank nutcracker actually to process, but like half of them had eaten hazelnuts in there, so I was just cracking shells and separating them for no reason. Some were like half eaten and developed and kind of bitter and rancid, and some even still had the moth in there, or the larvae, so there's just nasty little grubs I had to pick out. And I did hours of work, and I got 3 jars of hazelnuts, and it wasn't worth it. I think it was like maybe 20 hours or something, if I remember right. Not worth it at all. But I still have this around because you never know. Maybe times will get rough and I'm really craving some hazelnuts, and I'll be grateful to have a tree. I'm sure there are natural methods to deal with the filbert worms, but so far it doesn't stop you from getting a harvest, but it just makes it not worth it. Over here, another creeping raspberry, struggling to get established, but it's in the north side of my house in this raised bed, so a bit of extra shade is helping him out compared to the others. I just got my picnic tables and stuff out here. So here I have more potatoes, and you can see they're shaded by this hazelnut tree most of the day, and they're doing pretty well. I do have some blackberries I'm fighting that I need to pull up in here, but you can see none of these have any damage. They're doing really well, so I might continue pulling up sunchokes to get more of these guys. But it does stink over here. I don't know if that's the neighbor's dog poop or if these are the neighborhood cats that keep trying to use it as a litter box. I'm pretty fed up with them, but I guess this is part of living in the city. And here are my sunchokes. Let me go find the sign for you. So these are actually sunflowers, but instead of putting all of their energy into the flower, they put it into the root. So sunchokes, also known as Jerusalem artichokes, they're actually not from Jerusalem. They're from the North America, and they are also not artichokes. They are sunflowers. And you can pull them up. They grow like a weed. They grow nice and thick. They get really tall and make some really tiny sunflowers in about October, the end of the growing season. And they're pretty cool, but they just aren't quite as good as a potato. These will make some people gassy, and if you cook them enough and pickle them, I've heard that can deal with it. It doesn't really make me very gassy, but it's still an extra thing you need to deal with. I do love how low maintenance they are, but potatoes seem to be a close second, honestly. And I tried making a beer out of the sunchokes by cooking them super long to hydrolyze it and make all of the carbohydrates fermentable. And I ended up getting a water that smelled like mozzarella and was so disgusting. I was not happy cleaning it. I don't think it went bad. There was no mold. and no smells of, you know, any anaerobic bacteria or something like that. But man, it was just like the water you get in a mozzarella container is what I ended up with trying to make an alcoholic drink out of these. So I've heard other people find success. I'm not trying that again. Not worth it at all. This is, I'd say my #1 survival crop if I had to pick one, because you just get so much and they're huge clumps. When these get real tall, they dry up and you can see the old stalks from last year, kind of like bamboo almost, but a lot more brittle. And all you do is you grab the stalk and you pull it up and you get a ton of tubers. You wash them up. Raw, they taste like a radish. Cooked, they're more like a potato, but not quite as good. I'd say they're just a little more plain tasting, if I could say. You could almost taste that there's kind of less dense sugars in there. I'm not sure how to put it. Potatoes are an 8 out of 10. I would give these a 6.5. So they're still pretty close. For convenience, survival though, probably my #1 crop. You can plant these, forget them. They will spread. In my climate though, they will try to get out of these raised beds, but I just eat those ones first and it's not that hard. And these are hardly raised beds. They are falling apart, as you can see. And over here, this is a frost Satsuma orange I planted, and it looks very, very bad. Yeah, there's not even growing many flowers. It looks like it's just all growing back from the rootstock, which must be trifoliate orange, looking at the spikes and the swirliness of it. I'm guessing it's a flying dragon citrus. I did actually get this to survive okay over one winter, but the second it just didn't. And I even got a fruit off of this. I got a nice little clementine, sort of cutie orange, and I picked it. Didn't have a ton of sweetness, but it was soft, it was juicy, and it was on Thanksgiving Day. So that was a really cool experience and inspired me to keep looking at a cold hardy citrus for the zone where people would tell you no citrus will grow. And right next to this, I put another Prague Chimera. It's kind of hard to see. He's right here. I thought this would just give it a little extra shade, and I could continue using this big flying dragon plant as a rootstock. So when my Prague Chimera grows up and I have more cuttings, I can put them on this. You can see I tried with masking tape to do that before when my Prague Chimera showed up and had its branches all torn off, but those sadly didn't take. I'm sure it's because of the tape. I had no proper grafting tape at the time, but doing my best. Here I have more in-ground strawberries. Same story as the front yard. They just planted themselves and they do way better than they ever did in the raised beds. Here I have a jujube tree, also known as a Chinese date. It makes these fruits that are kind of like dry, foamy-ish apples. Not totally dry, but it's not as moist when you eat them. Really popular in China. And dried, I've had them, and they are kind of like a bran muffin if that was like a fruit. You eat it around a pit like a sort of date, but it's soft, almost styrofoamy, which is not quite the right way to describe it, but I'm struggling to find better words. Hoping this will grow. I think this is a sugar bee or sugar cane jujube. Yeah. No fruit yet, but I will report back when I get some. Again, something else I want to grow that can help serve local Chinese communities where you just can't find this sort of stuff really at the store. None of it is grown locally. I couldn't really tell you why. They seem like perfectly good foods. I think it may just be a cultural thing. Especially that beef and onion. Sorry, fly got in my ear. That is so cool. I love the beef and onion, but you just can't find that anywhere. No one, even Chinese people, don't really know what I'm talking about unless I'm talking to their families from China. So this is mountain mint, this plant here, and I've been growing this bad boy, and it is pretty small and just getting established, but this is a mint that will spread very slowly, similar to lemon balm, maybe just a few inches in each direction a year. So I am quite excited about that. It is known for having so many pollinators come to it when it flowers. It just gets huge. So I'm giving this guy some time to get established in the shade. I need to come out here and pick some of these weeds, but that's all from the neighbor's yard. Can't really do much about it. This guy is slowly growing, and it's going to hopefully get nice and established and be a big bush full of pollinators. And I do like mint, but man, I tried growing proper spearmint, and that thing was trying to grow 30 feet in every direction. So this seems like something that's much more manageable. I'm hoping this will take over sort of these weeds in this small area and stop them from coming to my yard, because the fence can only do so much. Anyways, I've tried it. This tastes really good. Here, I'll try some now, even though it's kind of small. Yeah, it's really, really strong, like mouthfeel of mint. Like I feel like I'm chewing on mint gum. It's just that ice cold feeling. Very slightly bitter. I didn't get that before. It could be just these mature leaves. Yeah, I feel like I want a mojito now. It just would go so well with how it cools down your mouth. Really excited for this guy. And here, artichoke. Again, I'm not going to yap about it too much because there's info online all about them. You can see I'm getting some here. For whatever reason, this is about 5 years old, and they are much bigger in other people's yards. I don't know if this raised bed I got from a neighbor has a wooden bottom. I thought that would have decayed right now and it'd have roots in the ground, but maybe it's because this thing only gets full sun in the afternoon. But it just seems to not do super well here. So I just get a couple flowers each year, and I love artichoke flowers, so I'll try them. I'm not really bothering to pick them, but man, that would be a good time if I was going to eat this. But I'm going to let it flower. Vibrant purple flower. Honestly, one of my favorite flowers in general, so I'm just going to leave it. Right here is a pomegranate, and I have heard they actually won't fruit in raised beds, or sorry, in containers. So it's doing okay. The first year this top died. It's doing pretty good in the summer, but before I've just had it all die back in the winter. And this is like a Russian pomegranate, so it shouldn't do that. I'm not sure why. It's in a well-draining pot, so I don't think it's waterlogged. I really can't figure it out, but I guess it probably won't fruit anyways, so I'm not too concerned. But it is getting a little bit bigger each year and holding on, so maybe it's just some of those blues of being in a new climate, who knows. And here, my grapevines, you can see grapes, 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 grapes. I am trying to get a big pergola built right out here to give me some shade because it gets so hot in this backyard. I mean, I just don't like the heat. You can see we have grapes here. Awesome. You can get raisins, nice sweet table grapes. I love this thing. I have some lights it's growing all over, but I know that it will need some more support, so hoping to get a pergola for this bad boy. But man, this thing is loaded on fruit. Grapes, 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 grapes. So I got a few bundles last year, and now I'm getting like 6 or 7 times, so I'm really excited for this guy. Super low maintenance, grows literally like a weed. Probably shouldn't be in my house, but I don't care. I own it, I can do what I want. And let me see. Right here, marijuana plant. That's straightforward. I don't really have a sign out there. There's lots of info online. Just growing that because I rent half of the duplex I live in, and they want us to learn how to grow marijuana, so I'm teaching them. Over here, some more Egyptian walking onions. And then this guy is a anise hyssop. So it's similar to that mountain mint. I think it's a different genus or something like that. It's related, but not quite the same. These to me taste like licorice, and they have a sweetness to them too. Especially the younger leaves. I feel like I'm eating a little piece of licorice candy almost. This is really nice. I'm looking forward to using this to make root beers. And this will make really pretty flowers all summer that are bright purple. There's none quite yet. This guy kind of took a while to come back from the winter, so maybe these don't really wake up until it's early summer, it seems. But looking forward to that. And this is another plant I want to try to use in root beer for a spiciness, because I've gotten that in my garlic, but there's not really anything that will go well with a sweet spiciness. So for the sort of licorice flavor, I got this. And then here's a Tasmanian pepperberry where I had, let me see if I could find them. I had some berries on it. Oh yeah, it's like they're dropping off right here, right where this finger is. I had some, and there's just less and less every time. So it kind of set fruit, and they've just dried up. I don't know why. I had a really hard time getting these plants established. I have one here, and I have one right there. And they really don't seem very drought tolerant, and they like to have a lot of shade, which is interesting because they're from Tasmania, which is, you know, really close to Australia. Lots of hot sun all day and not lots of cover. So these things, the leaves, to me, they taste like just like Thai basil, but they are spicy, and it's not the same spiciness in a pepper. It's a different chemical. So looking forward to trying this in a hot sauce, and also trying to use this in a root beer to just get a little extra kick. And the berries are, they look like blueberries, and they grow in bundles. They're a bit darker, and they supposedly taste like the leaves, where they're just like sweet and real spicy. Like just chewing on this, man. This is spicy. Woo. Yeah, whew. That's getting real spicy. It was not like that last year. Oh, man, I need water. Whew. Okay. Here, there's a sign right there while I'm recovering. Ugh. Okay, and this here, are two more kiwi plants. These are silver vine kiwis I got from One Green World. But these are another variety where the fruit supposedly tastes kind of like a smoked bell pepper and even has some spiciness to it. I have seen one video on YouTube of it, and someone says it lives up to the hype. I have not tried it, and I had to get new plants this year. I was trying to grow them for the past two, but it is a very powerful catnip, the silver vine kiwi, which is pretty frustrating because I have all these damn stray cats in my neighborhood, and they like to chew up on my plants, get real high. They like to shit in my sunchokes and my potatoes. So I'm pretty frustrated with them. If you let your cat free roam, maybe think second about that, because man, I have birdhouses. They harass all the birds that try to live in here. I fucking hate cats, but we're doing our best to make it work. I got a fence right around this guy. It's been working so far. I just need a rabid dog to eat them all. All right, and let me see, grapes. Oh yeah, this raised bed here. I have some tea plants I'm growing, and they don't do very well in my climate. I'm not sure what it is. They get really chlorotic, even when I give them really acidic soil. And then they seem to get sun scald super easy, and they're just so sensitive. So I'm not quite sure what's wrong with these guys. I have another plant right here, just to show you a sign. Right here. And this thing is just so worse for wear. I need to keep watering these. They have a hard time getting established. They get sun scald so easily, despite all of the shade in this little nook here. And it's just really frustrating. So maybe other people are more successful about growing tea in this climate. This seems to be one of the most sensitive things I've had in this damn garden. But that's why I'm switching to Yaupon for my caffeinated shrub. It just seems a lot more suited. I'm sure there are other tea varieties that will do better, but yeah, I'm just not having good luck. And right here, another pepperberry that I'm giving shade with my rhubarb leaves from this plant, and it's working pretty well. Hopefully I'll get some berries next year to try and report back. Just a random asparagus plant. I put them all around just to see where they grow best. Here is my spice bush. I have some that I transplanted here, but you can see they got real crispy out of nowhere. They really didn't like being transplanted, despite the one in the front yard, which is south facing, doing so well. And I have a second one here that also got really crispy fried. And I ordered two more plants. One here, which is already getting fried, and one here, which is halfway there. And I've been watering them every day. It has only been in the 70s, not too hot. So that's a bit frustrating. I'm going to do my old trick, putting rhubarb leaf on top of it, where they seem to do way better, given that shade. Man, I'm hoping they can get established though, because Spicebush is a cool plant, and it is sad to see them struggling so bad. Here, where's the other one? Right there. Maybe that'll help. Those poor plants, they just really can't deal with the sun. They are an understory crop, but they will eventually tolerate full sun. But yeah, not a lot of luck here. Now these guys are a very similar story. These are my pawpaw trees, and here is a sign. Biggest fruit in North America. It's like a mango. I have tried it at the farmer's market, luckily. I don't know what variety it was. And to me, it was like a bubble gum with, they have very distinct bubblegum flavor with a bit of like banana-y mango notes. The mango is pretty light. I've heard some taste just like mango, and this variety here actually is a mango, I'm pretty sure. And I have had no success growing these until this year, because I realized they need full shade or very close to it their first year. And as it's getting hotter, you can see this guy is getting a little more upset with the yellow leaves. This one that's a little more closer to the house is way happier. So hopefully, again, when I get that pergola built out here, grow some grapes on it, I'll be able to get more fruit, have somewhere for these guys to go, and help shade out these trees and create a bit of a microclimate, because it seems like that is really important, primarily for young plants. A lot of them can deal with full shade when they're mature, but not quite these guys. Here is my rhubarb plant. Rhubarb, another common crop, really straightforward. Let me see if I can get the sign for you. There's the sign. Big poisonous leaves. It creates oxalic acid. Comes back from a big rhizome. And I don't love how it shades out all of my plants when it grows, but I realize I can selectively do that by just covering it up with these leaves, having some holes where the bugs will start eating this and the light will start coming through, just to help younger plants get established. I do need to keep replacing these, but this is at least a few weeks old now. Nice and dry. It's doing pretty good. So that seems like a nice free sort of shade cloth. It just flowered this year. which is pretty interesting. It's got all these seeds that are falling off, and it's not getting as big and leafy, so it's not shading out everything, which I'm kind of happy for because my pawpaws are running out of room. Now this year is Scarlett. I think this might be the last thing in my tour. And this is essentially a clumping perennial parsnip. You can see the plants here. If you pull up one of these clumps, it'll have a bunch of little finger looking roots, kind of like pencil thick, all the way to, I'd say, the thick of your finger. And it was used like a potato in medieval times. I've tried it myself. It's just very starchy and plain when you eat it, pretty close to a tomato or potato. The rabbits like it because it's in the carrot family. Pollinators seem to really like the flowers, and I don't quite have a reason to use this over my potatoes, which are easier to harvest, and even my sunchokes, which are way easier. But I do want to have this just for the sake of documentation and just as a backup plant, because I'm sure I will find a really good use for it. If you like the flavor of carrot, the leaves are edible, so you can get all the greens from the top, and I'm sure it'd make a great slaw, even though I don't like coleslaw. But if you do, and you like that carrot flavor, I'm sure you could just get these and chop them up, and they would be great for that. And then last of all, just rosemary, nice basic herb. I like to prune this and put it in my chicken run and in the coop, so it smells nice and good. Supposedly helps deal with mites and bugs. And that's just a nice way to chop and drop and get some nice fertilizer and free litter for my chickens. So I think that is a full garden tour. I don't think I missed anything. If you have any questions about any of the plants I'm growing, let me know. I'll try to reply to everybody. I get very few views on my channel, but I thought this would just be an interesting tour of my cold hardy rare perennial garden in Zone 8B in the Willamette Valley in Oregon.